day everyone, I'm Nkhensani Baloyi and I want to give you some awareness or education about human rights because today we are celebrating human rights in South Africa. Now the key things that I'm going to explain in the video are as follows: the brief background of human rights in South Africa, the key human rights that we have in South Africa that are related to the youth, and what can be done to minimize or make sure that the youth meet their basic human rights when it comes to gender-based violence. Now, let's begin. The first one, what is the brief background of human rights in South Africa? Let's understand that human rights in South Africa were enshrined in the Constitution because of the violations that happened in Sharpeville, that happened in Marikana, but that is a recent story that happened in South Africa. This is to safeguard all the human rights that people are actually involved with when it comes to any violation in South Africa. Now, what are the key human rights issues that we have? But before we go there, we must understand that human rights are continuously violated, not only because of Sharpeville. We can see the police brutality that actually happened in the Vet Fees Must Fall just last week when Mthokozisi was actually murdered by the police without anything that he did. So we can recall a lot of human rights issues that have been violated, from fees must fall, from the roads must fall, in all the things that we are looking at in South Africa. It can be children who are violated because they are not getting the basic human rights such as food, water, and access to housing. Now, let's move on to the key human rights issues that are actually facing the youth. Now, we have the right to equality, right? Everyone is actually given the right to equality. We all need to be equal in the job opportunities that we have, but let's understand that that right is limited in South Africa because not all the youth have access to jobs. And you can see that COVID-19 actually exacerbated the issues of the youth not having the access to equal rights. Now, the second one is the right to freedom and security. This means that people are actually protected by the state to have their freedom of expression to be protected, to be free in the fact that people should not be violated against their will, should be free of violence, right? But we can see the limitation in that right because a lot of women, especially female-headed families, are actually affected by domestic violence, are actually affected by almost all kinds of gender-based violence issues that you can find. Those are your physical violence, those are your sexual violence, and you find that females and children are at the forefront of these violations. Now, the third one is the right to education. Are the youth actually accessing equal rights when it comes to education? We are seeing that in 2021, actually not only in 2021, throughout the years, there has been inequalities when it comes to NSFAS or bursaries that are actually put forward to actually make sure that the disadvantaged youth who are coming from disadvantaged families have access to those so that they can access equal education. And like I said, fees must fall. I think we all know that issue where it's coming from because students are fighting for the fact that they cannot access higher education, which is the current issue that we have in South Africa. Now, the last one that I want us to talk about is the freedom of expression, which is related to what? Freedom and security that I have already put forward to you. That freedom of expression is that these days the youth are actually they have the freedom to express themselves. Like in the past, we were not allowed to question patriarchy, but these days we are allowed as the youth to question masculinity, to question femininity, the things that were put forward in the past. Now we are able to question those things so that we can meet our basic human rights. And I can conclude and say to you that human rights are for you. You are the one who actually needs to stand forward and put your human rights forward. Okay, now the last point that I want us to talk about is that what can be done to minimize the human rights violations against the youth when it comes to gender-based violence. Okay, so we have different organizations, and now you know that gender-based violence has actually came as an issue like during COVID-19. It has been an issue before, but it was a topic that was overlooked. But now we can see that almost everyone is aware of what gender-based violence is, and I'm not going to go through that here. So now, what can be done to minimize the rights of the youth being abused when it comes to females especially? But let's not reduce it to that, because there are also men who are abused, but they don't go forward because of the stereotypes or the discrimination that comes with that when you report as a man. Let's also acknowledge the LGBTI community, that they are also violated. Their rights are actually violated. So what can be done? We know the gender-based violence command center that is in Soweto, where you can use that to call and actually find help, or if you don't know what to do. We have the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. We have the Crisis of Care. These things are online. Just Google, you will find them so that you are able to report. If you can't get hold of that, there are local clinics, there are local police stations, there are local social workers in local hospitals where you can report these issues. And I know it takes time for you to report these issues, but make sure that you actually express yourself to a point where they know that yes, you have been violated, so that people can take the right actions. So in the local clinics, police stations, and the hospitals, we have the multidisciplinary team that can actually work with you when it comes to gender-based violence issues. And like I said, this topic is everywhere in the media. If you go online and check what is it that you need to do to get help using the knowledge that I have used, then you can be able to find the help. Happy Human Rights Day, everyone, and enjoy your day.